Annyeonghaseyo. This is Kyle with KoreanAdopteeStories along with Travis Baylitz. So I am here to interview our first time Russian adoptee. So now, even though our broadcasting channel is called Korean Adoptee Stories, I kind of realized that a lot of other adoptees need a voice, and I think they actually have a similar commonality to us Korean adoptees as well. And she's not the only one that I spoke with that kind of was wondering about that. Why do we just have to interview Koreans? And in reality, I think we can interview everybody. So I'm pretty excited about this interview. Sveta is Russian, and I actually reached out to her on Instagram since she seemed to like a lot of my posts, and realizing she's adoptee, we kind of had a little small discussion, and I felt like she had a lot to say. Apparently, she might have had quite a bit of trauma, and that's something that we'd like to go over with, and most importantly, how she overcame it, which I think would be great for her to share and for other people to listen to. So welcome to our broadcasting today. Happy New Year, and hope you had a Merry Christmas. So let's begin. Hey, Sveta, how are you doing?
I am doing good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. So it's really nice meeting you. I know you're an adoptee advocate. Could you introduce yourself a little bit? Maybe your name, your age, and where you're located?
So my name is Svetlana, and I'm 29 years old. And right now I'm actually in Russia and Moscow, like center of Moscow. But my hometown is actually, in America, Atlanta, Georgia. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and Russia at the same time.
Oh, cool. How long have you been in Russia right now?
So it's going to be almost like 2 years I have been in Russia. So, and the reason I came to Russia is because I want to be with my biological family.
Okay. So that's great. So could you tell us a little bit about your adoption story? Do you know what happened with your adoption and why they adopted you? And could you tell a little bit about that first? Then we could talk a little bit about the childhood.
Yeah. So I guess I'll be honest because I think that's what people need to know. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. My first time trying on getting adopted when I was about 10 years old in 2001. Yeah, I believe in 2001. I actually lived in Kazakhstan, Almaty. I'm from Kazakhstan, Almaty, and they wanted to give me a try to get fostered by American parents. And then after you get fostered by American parents, you have a choice to make, like, do you want to get adopted by those parents, and do the foster parents want you to adopt you? And I actually declined the offer of getting adopted around, when I was 10 years old. It's because like I could see that a foster mom was very, very jealous of me and of the foster father. Like, my foster father had a really good relationship with me, and I had a really good relationship with him. But their relationship was like crashing down because he put so much effort in us, and he fell in love with us a lot, like fast. And they had like 6 children on their own. And I was not the only one who got fostered. It was my other friend from my orphanage. So it was like, if we were going to get adopted, we would be sisters and brothers. But so I declined the adoption. And my friend who was going to be my brother, he also didn't want to be adopted because you can see the effect that was happening in mother and father's relationship. So then I got another chance to get maybe fostered again, second time. And that was in 2002. 2002. And I got fostered by another American family in Arizona. And this time I think I was around 12 years old.
Sorry to lose your train of thought. So how long were you living in the orphanage before you were adopted? You said you were in Kazakhstan?
Yeah, so I was in Kazakhstan. Yeah, so I actually lived in a hospital for 5 years, and then I went to the orphanage for 7 years. So I started to go to the orphanage when I was 1996 in October. I was 5 years old. So from 5 years old all the way to 12 years old. Yeah, so at 12 years old, I finally got adopted. But how did it happen? I got fostered by an Arizona family, mom and dad, and they were actually older couples. And the experience was okay. I didn't really like my foster father, but my mother, who was fostering me, she was very sweet and loving, but the father wasn't a very safe guy. But and then I realized that they wanted to adopt me, and so I kind of like wanted to make a choice. Do I want to get adopted, or do I want to, because I didn't really like the father so much. So I was battling with, should I stay in the orphanage or get adopted? And I decided to get adopted is because I was about 12 years old, and then 3 years later, after being in the orphanage, at 15 years old, after you are in the orphanage, you graduate orphanage. And after you graduate the orphanage, um, either you become like a homeless person or a prostitute, or you really don't have much of life after the orphanage, because they didn't teach you like life, like like what happens in real world, and like skills for real world, like things you need to know. And so I was really scared, like, what am I going to do after I graduate the orphanage? So I decided to go pathway to get adopted by an American parents. And then I finally said, I agreed that, yeah, I wanted to get adopted. And then my American family came here to do all the documents and get me back to United States. Yeah, so, and then I got adopted in 2003 in the summertime.
That must have been a huge, enormous pressure being so young, making decisions like really like life changing decisions, whether to be adopted or stay in the orphanage. So I guess it's kind of interesting where you're weighing between the two. Could you describe your life in the orphanages? Is it as horrible as both my brother and I are kind of ignorant of it? Could you explain a little bit about it and what the life was like there?
I guess I'll just talk about, because I lived in two orphanages. So I guess I will summarize the young orphanage and the older orphanage, because we were in the younger orphanage first. I was in a younger orphanage. And so I guess the younger orphanage was a bit difficult. It wasn't as challenging as like the older orphanage. But the first orphanage, I really did like it because it fed you really well there. But the only thing I was, struggling with is that in that orphanage, they would actually kidnap kids in the middle of the night and do things to them, either rape or abuse them. And it was like one of the security people in the orphanage, or it would be like one of the teachers, or would be like caregivers that would actually abuse you sexually or mentally. Or
Did you yourself ever suffer from the abuse then?
no, I fought through it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like I remember fighting through it. I screamed. I did everything as possible, give all my energy, and they weren't able to drag me into the room, because it was the kids' bedroom where we all slept, and they had to take you to another room. But I fought through it. And then after that experience, I was not able to go to sleep like calmly in the night, because I was afraid for myself and for my classmates. But it came to a point where I was just really exhausted, like protecting all the kids who were taken away from my, from my bedroom. Yeah, and I saw some of the kids being kidnapped in my bedroom, like the boys and girls. And how do I even remember this vividly, like clearly? Even like the boys would come back, the security guy would bring the kids back, and I would run to them and say, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you all right?" And they're like, "No, I'm hurting there. I'm hurting there." And they would point where, like in a private place, and they would cry and cry. And because, one of the boys who was kidnapped and was abused sexually, he at first, when he came to the orphanage, he was very, very calm. He wasn't jittery. He wasn't. But after those experiences that he has had, in the orphanage at such a young age, he started to be very jittery. He started to, like, if you like came close to him, it's like, Igor, he would like jump. He was there, like he would jump. And the other kids would be very confused, questioning like, why is this and that? And of course, I wasn't able to explain, but the teachers would forbidden us to even say anything about situations like that. And then would like, beat us in the orphanage. I remember I went unconscious multiple times in the orphanage, in the baby orphanage. But then it came to a point where we were becoming older, so we had to transfer to an older orphanage. And I thought like baby orphanage was like enough to deal with, but in the older orphanage, it actually was worse. And one of the things why it was really worse is because the older orphanage, number 3, in Almaty, Kazakhstan, was known for retarded, disabled children who had psychological problems. And so it was segregated orphanage, meaning like you had Russian kids and then you had Kazakh kids. So Kazakh people were Muslims and Russian people were like Christians. So we were segregated. And so in the older orphanage, I had experienced like losing a lot of my friends because they got killed by Muslim people. It was in the early 1990s. So in Kazakhstan became an independent country in 1991. So the economy crashed, and the economy, like, they struggled financially. So it was very tough. And when Kazakhstan became an independent country, lots of like Muslim Kazakh people, and not sure all Kazakh are Muslims, but I've experienced a lot of Muslims were killing a lot of Russian people. They hated that culture. And so I lost a lot of my friends from that. And then I used to live in like orphanage jail. I was locked in the orphanage jail for days and weeks. I was beat up unconsciously, was sent to the hospital because I was beat up. Not just me, but a lot of my classmates. I would protect my classmates, and that's why I would get beat up for that. And then also like experiencing, almost meaning like getting raped, but I fought through it because this orphanage was with older kids. We were in the 3rd floor, so we were like just newbies. Like we were around 7 and 8 years old, and then in the same floor we had 15, 16-year-old guys and girls, which is not a really good combination for that. And so the boys tried to kidnap me, not kidnap me, but take me and do things to me. But of course I fought through it. But they did rape a couple of the girls in girls' room. So those crazy things. And then I ran away from the orphanage because I was really fed up with beat up. And so I was homeless a couple of times. I ran away from the orphanage because they didn't feed us enough. So I would go and work in the store. I didn't waste my time like crying about, we don't have this, we don't have this. I just went and did it because that's one thing I learned as a child is don't rely on others. Because it's just, you won't succeed.
I'm really incredibly sorry that you had to go through so much. And I guess what amazes me, I am in shock and awe that you're probably like one of the, so far, the most difficult adoptee stories that I heard of. But I guess what amazes me now, you seem very well spoken and calm. As you're an adult, do you feel like you process all this stuff and you're able to be strong and live a more healthier life, or has it affected any of your relationships or family relationships or anything like that? Or do you feel like you kind of could set the past in the past?
I guess, I can accept the past. I don't regret it. Actually, every bit of like what I went through the orphanage, I don't regret it. It really has taught me how to be tough and understand the real tough world. And Yeah, I mean, of course, when I was a child, after I got adopted, I hated it. Like I struggled. Like, why did it happen to me? Like, I was blaming something, and then yeah, I had struggles, like emotionally, uh, with my adopted family. It's because I also had to deal with my adopted parents. So after coming out of the orphanage, thinking like, oh my goodness, I can be in peace. No, I had to, had to deal with my adopted parents. So it really affected me even more. And then after all these experiences I've had, I actually don't regret any bit of it. I'm very grateful that I went through all these experiences. And no, I'm not mad at anybody what has happened to me as a child. And actually, I found my orphanage teacher who was the cruel one of all in my whole like orphanage life. And I actually found her after maybe, I think, like 5 years ago. And one of my healing ways I had to, like to accept and move on from that past. And no, I haven't moved on 100%, but I'm working on it. But I did find my orphanage teacher, and I did ask her, why did she do it? And of course, she declined it. And I just said, okay, it doesn't matter anymore, but I do forgive you for all the things you have done. To move on from things, you have to forgive truly. And, but yeah, so maybe hopefully after this COVID, I would love to actually go back to Kazakhstan. I haven't gone to Kazakhstan since I've been adopted, and she's still alive. And I actually would want to meet with her and just like, how are you doing? And because I still like, I don't know, I still care about her. It was just very strange, but at the end of the day, like she still took care of us, like not the best way, of course, the most horrific way. And actually, she got fired by an orphanage director because, yeah, because of her cruelness. But I believe, for a couple of years, I have been believing in whoever throws, excuse my language, all that nastiness towards you, you give more goodness to them. And then maybe someday they will see something. And if they don't see it, it's okay. But at least you're not known for being like them, but known for being the kindest person. So, no.
I guess I'm a little bit curious. I'm just curious about the history and the politics of Kazakhstan. Was Kazakhstan under the Soviet Union?
Yes, it was. It was the Soviet Union before 1991.
So in 1991, they became independent.
Yeah, I believe it became independent country in February 1991, I believe.
So is that the whole reason why there's so many orphans there, or because of the political unrest, or was there a war going on? Was this due to a Muslim and Christian conflict, or was it more something related to politics?
Of course, it has to do with more of like politics and part of the taking the control of the country, because it played a little bit of like the religion part, but mostly it's just taking the control of the some of the country, some of the Russia. Because if you can see in the map, there's Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Asia. So all these culture and all these people have mixed, culture. And then lots of Kazakhs actually came into the Soviet Union and wanted their own land. So, so there was a big population of Kazakh people, and so they wanted to create their own land. And by doing that, they continuously having war and war and war. And then finally, in February 1991, it became independent country. From my memory, when I was in Kazakhstan, I learned this by just reading it on my own. But even though it became an independent country in 1991, the question you asked me is that why they had so many orphanages. No, it's not that. It's because Soviet Union was one of the poorest countries too. It's a communist country. And it's not just Russia, but it was Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova, Lithuania, Latvia. in one of the poor countries. And so, because a lot of times we're becoming poor and the only choice was, for them, I guess, drink and smoke, do drugs. And it was too difficult to also take care of kids in those times. So, they have created so many orphanages, not just in Kazakhstan, but in Russia and Ukraine, Armenia, all over Eastern Europe and Asia area. And it's still a struggle, not as much like in 1990s. It's gotten much better, but they are still struggling.
So just based on my assumption, I believe your biological family moved to Russia. Is that why you're there? Are you in the Moscow area? I'm just trying to...
Yeah, I'm in the Moscow area.
So since you're in Russia, I assume that Kazakhstani people speak Russian too, or do they have their own language?
Yeah, Kazakhstan speak Kazakh. It's called Kazakh, and they speak Russian. Because it was Russia first, but once it became independent country, Kazakh people want people to speak Kazakh. So when I did get adopted by American parents and I moved to America, I spoke two languages, Russian and Kazakh. But then once I started to speak English, I forgot Kazakh right away. And little by little, I forgot my Russian. I can still read in Kazakh and Russian in Ukraine. I can speak Russian and English now. But I forgot Kazakh. But if I really work hard at it, I can get my Kazakh back. Which Kazakh language is a very beautiful language in my opinion. As a child, I hated it because of the experience. I couldn't stand speaking Kazakh, but now I look at it, I love it. That's one of my favorite languages.
So are you yourself, are you actually Christian? Are you Muslim, or you don't practice a religion, or?
I guess I call myself agnostic Jew. So I believe there's something hierarchy than us because there's so much energy around us. And Jew culturally, meaning because my American adopted parents have brought this joy of I've had such incredible, experience of Hanukkah time and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Passover. I've had such an incredible experience, coming to holidays and celebrating with them. There's a difference. Like my adopted parents didn't teach me all this Judaism and celebrated high holidays with me. Only Hanukkah, but that was it. But my adopted family, relatives, cousins, aunties, they never pushed on me on this religion. They just kind of welcomed, and I started to actually be more curious about it. And that's why I call myself agnostic Jew, because I love the culture of the Judaism. And
so the Jewish part came when your adoptive parents got involved?
Yes. Yeah, but at 5 years old, I was baptized in a Russian church, which I hated it because that's not what I agreed to. So I remember all the Russians, because at that time, who were Russians, they had to be baptized without any rights. So I was baptized, and that was one of the worst days because that's not what I wanted.
So I guess I just wanted to afford a little bit about your adoptive parents. So if I remember correctly, you were age 5 adopted in Kazakhstan, and then you're age 12, you came to America?
Yes.
So you had 2 foster families?
Yeah, I mean, it was in 2001 when I was fostered by an Portland, Oregon family, and that didn't work out. And then my director of the orphanage said, try this again. So I tried it again.
So you originally came at 10, and then you went back, and then came back to U.S. at 12. Is that how it worked?
So the Oregon Portland family didn't really work at all. So then I came back. So for international foster kids, you go over the summer and enjoy time being with them for 2 or 3 months. And then in those 2 or 3 months, the parents and foster child supposed to decide, do they want to get adopted? Does the parents wanted to adopt you? So, and after they decide to say, yes, we wanted to adopt you, you have to, it's obligated that you have to go back to your country. So after I declined the family in Portland, Oregon, I went back to the orphanage, and I believe I lived just for like a year. And then my director of the orphanage said, why don't you try this again? Maybe get fostered again, and maybe you will get adopted. It's like, okay, why not? Let's do it. So they sent all, not just me, but groups of kids. Like about 8 of the kids were sent to the United States, and that was Phoenix, Arizona. And so the family chooses you. Yeah, you get out of the bus after the airport, and a lady would just bring you to this parent, to that parent, to all this. And so I lived with my foster family, my Arizona foster family, for, I believe, 2 months. My deadline was for 2 months. And then right before I had to be sent back to my country, they had to tell me, do they want to adopt me or not? And they said yes. And then I also said, yes, I want to get adopted. And so I still had to go back to my country and wait until my adopted parents, now becoming adopted parents, were doing all these documents to prepare to get me adopted. And after they were done with, with all the documents, paperwork, I think it took 9 months until the summer. My American mother, actually the only one who came back to Kazakhstan to pick me up from the orphanage and be in the Kazakhstan for a while until, we stamped, we had to go to the court to clarify that, yes, I want to get adopted. And after, and that was not an easy process either, but it's another story. So we said yes, yes. We want to get adopted, and then we went to Arizona.
How was the life in Arizona? You said that you don't speak with your adoptive parents anymore, or do you? Or
no, so I don't talk to my adopted parents.
Did they abuse you? Is that why you had to cut them out of your life?
So, like during my foster time, my foster father actually abused me physically. And that's why, it wasn't that easy for me to, like, do I choose to be living with an abusive, adopted parents, or, live in the orphanage. But I understood that living in the orphanage and afterwards, there's no life for me. And so during the time when I was fostered, I actually asked a translator, if I do get adopted, how long do you have to live in that house with the parents before you have your own rights to move out and stuff? And she was a bit shocked, like, why did you ask me that? I just wanted, because I wanted to see, like, how long can I suck it up with, this family? Because I know that if I accept this family, I will have to pay the price. And so, yeah, she said 18 years old. I said, oh, okay, I can do it. So, so after getting adopted, 2 weeks later, right after 2 weeks later, after I got adopted, my American father started to abuse me physically, mentally, and physically. And my American mother just ignored all these signs. Like, even though I screamed for her, she heard me. She never came to rescue for me. He was inside the house when all these things were happening. So I had to deal with that so I started at 12 years old until...
When you say physical abuse, do you mean violence or is it sexual abuse?
No, sexual abuse was totally different when, and then physical abuse where he would throw me, he would hit me, suffocate.
Is there a reason why he did that? I don't want to judge you or anything.
Was there troubling times with you as a kid?
Yeah, emotional, and he was trying to get you under control, or is he just a
He just
horrible
was
human,
like
human
that.
a horrible human being?
So, because I saw, like sexual abuse, not towards me because I, protect myself. And then physical abuse. So when he did physical abuse, I would defend myself. When it came to sexual abuse, I think as a child, I really couldn't understand. I understood this, it was a wrong thing to do. I totally clearly understood that. But in the back of my mind, it's like if I just had to suck it up because I didn't want to, be placed. I was afraid maybe I would be sent back to my country or be placed to a foster home. So I kept my mouth shut. But in some ways, I didn't keep my mouth shut. I did tell people. My first person I actually did tell is their biological daughter. I told her that this was happening.
I'm sorry, your adoptive dad sexually abused you, you're saying as well? Or you're talking about the sexual abuse that you faced in the orphanage?
No. Adopted father abused me, not my adopted mother. My adopted mother just ignored and didn't help me. My adopted father is the one who sexually, mentally, physically abused me.
Wow, I'm really sorry about that. It seems like you suffered a lot in the orphanage, and I guess with the unfortunately the really bad case of horrible adoptive parents. So I guess I was looking on your Instagram, and you have a post saying that you're really thankful for your adoptive mother, and I actually was thinking, oh, she had a pretty decent adoptive parent. Do you know what I'm referring about? As one of your Instagram posts where you're a little kid.
Yeah, I am thankful. Even though those things happen, at the end of the day, they give me life. They took me out of that country, and I could have been more messed up than I would have been now. And I won't say I'm messed up, and I don't like to know myself mentally messed up, because I really work really hard at composure. But no, I'm very grateful that they adopted me because they really worked really hard and with documents, get me out of the country, and that was a lot. That process, I was thankful. But just the experience of my adoption life after getting adopted, no, I'm not grateful. Of course, none of all the experience I've had during the foster time in my adopted life is not my fault at all, and I don't blame myself any bit of it. But one thing I am grateful that they got me out of the country. So that's what I was referring to.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, and it kind of reminds me of another Korean adoptee. She did not have a good experience in the orphanage, and she kind of believes adoption is human trafficking and all that. But she kind of brought up something that some adoptees that kind of went through hell kind of have a Stockholm syndrome from their adoptive parents. Do you feel like your adoptive family in America ever like kind of controlled you in a way, or are you actually just deciding to forgive and let go? That's why I was so amazed at your story with all the crap that you went through. You're able to find a better peace of mind, to be honest. I think the way you do it is probably the answer, but there's a lot of people that still stuck up on the past. And what's your take on it? And I think you are an adoptee advocate. Do you work with adoptee politics or something at all, or?
No, I'm doing on my own. I have been very silent on my own, like doing things on my own, but now I'm actually out there now. But no, I'm not working for anybody, or nor anybody. Yeah. So no, I don't allow myself to have any control, like any of my adopted parents control me. Yeah, because that gives them strength and that weakens me. And then I question myself, what is the reason I'm here if I am being controlled by all this? And I'm not going to allow anybody to, get me down, push me down, because again, like I said, what's the reason for me living here?
I'm curious, did you have any mentors or therapists that you had to go through to tell you that, hey, I want to forgive and forget, or at least I want to live a better life, a better quality of life? Did you go through that, or how'd you develop such a strong mindset, a healthy mindset?
So I guess I will say, so as a child, I understood it was none of my fault. And that's why I kept speaking up, like, this is this is happening in my house, please help me. I said to my adopted sister, I told school counselor, I told my teacher in school, I told my best friend's mother what was happening. None of them helped me. But then when we were having family reunion, adoptive family reunion. I was actually not going to participate, but I decided to participate because my adoptive family really pushed me and said, Solana, please, like, come, give us a chance, because adopted father really isolated me and shut me down from all the family members because it's just a control.
Which is a kind of a form of abuse.
Exactly.
Controllers try to separate you from everything social.
Yeah, and actually, he was very close on, beating, winning my what I wanted to succeed in, and so I finally listened give one more chance because I was actually after the family reunion, I was deciding that I'm going to leave the house. Like at 16, I was close to turning 17 years old, and I was going to leave the house and live with my best friend and continue going to school. But I had a family reunion. And I had a fight because my adopted parents went, and we all went, and my adopted parents stayed in my auntie's house, and so I had an argument with my adoptive father, and yeah, we got in a physical fight, and my cousin saw I was crying, and so then in the middle of the night, my auntie said, "So let's talk," and so I told everything to her. And so my aunties and my cousins are the ones who saved me, and that's when I clearly saw like there are good people in the world. And so from that moment, I understood that there are chances in life, and there are good people. So don't get so stuck in the negative part. And then so after,
Did they give you advice on it, or did they just were listening to you and that was enough, or did they follow through with anything?
no, I told them because I was still a minor at 17 years old, and when we had a family reunion, I was in Florida, and they actually called all these police officers, detectives, and I was interviewed by all these people, and so overall, while I was in Florida, my adopted parents, was interviewed too, but went back to Arizona, and my American father killed himself because he was going to face prison.
Oh, wow. So he actually was going to prison at that time then, huh?
Yeah, I was getting ready to go to the court to, say all the things has been done. And my American mother still kept questioning because, she thought, oh, I'm just a teenager, typical teenager, asking for attention. No, I'm not asking for attention because I already have gone through so much before they're, coming to their lives. I was already exhausted dealing with all this, what was happening as a child, and now I'm more exhausted. And so I didn't have time nor energy to just like look at me. I'm just making up stories. So, yeah, so he killed himself, and my American mother became widowed. And so my aunties, really definitely helped me. And they said, why don't you go back to live with your American mother? But that was I always thought it was a mistake because my American mother needed more help than I did. So when I went back after this whole commotion happened, I moved back to the Arizona, finished high school, lived with my mother, but it was a struggle living with her.
In my mind, I feel tension. Do you think she ever blamed you for the husband's death or your adopted dad's death?
I don't think so, but if she did, I don't care. But my sister, the family that I've been adopted, I think she maybe feels, that I'm a blame of that, but I don't care.
Was she ever sexually abused too, or was it just you?
Yeah, clearly. As when I first time asked, told her what's happening to me, and we were in Danny's restaurant, and when she didn't say anything, no protected me, because she was actually older sister. She was in her late 30s, so she was out of the house. And so when I saw that she was in able to give me anything or help me out, I understood clearly that happened to her. But I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to assume.
And they only had one biological daughter, and that's who you lived with at the time?
No, biological daughter didn't live with us when I got adopted because she was already older. She had her own home, and she had her husband.
So I guess let's move on. I guess I want to hear the story and how you made contact with your birth family and decided to live with them. Were you around 18 or was that later?
Later,
What age were you then?
25. I'm 29 now, and I was 25 years old.
So it was pretty recent then.
Yeah.
How'd that happen? Did you get records from the orphanage or you write a letter, or how were you able to get in contact with your birth family?
My passion since I came to United States and learned how to work with computers, my passion was at 13 years old, finding biological parents for adopted children. And so at 13 years old until now, I have, helped my friend find biological parents or other Russian adoptees. And the reason that was my passion, because that was my passion to find my own biological parents. And I was not able to find my biological family at all. So because of all this trauma that has happened, and I knew that at 23 years old, I want to find my biological parents, but I didn't want to just do it quickly. I still do, and I had in the past counselor. So that's why I also think the way how I am. But so at 23, I knew that I was wanting to find my biological family, but emotionally I wasn't ready. I want to be ready to have low expectations that they might again, deny me, and maybe they're not married, they're doing drugs or drinking or something. I had to be prepared emotionally for the worst. And then also I wanted to prepare myself to forgive them for whatever, would be the reason and not be angry at them. So it took me 2 years to work with that. And then at 25 years old, I decided that I do want to finally do whatever it takes for me to find my biological parents. So I actually looked around in the computer for a Russian investigator who finds biological parents for adoptees, specifically Russian people. And so I did find an investigator, and I was 24 years old because I started when I was 22 years old, when I started to really think about this, seriously finding biological parents. And then at 24 years old, I found this investigator, and he found it maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. It was very quickly. And when he did find my biological family, he says, "Svetlana, I'm ready to share, the news." I freaked out and I cut him down. I stopped communicating with him. I pretend like I didn't get this message. I guess I wasn't prepared still. So I worked with my counselor, I worked with myself, and then finally he said, "Okay, Svetlana, it's time for me to start closing your case. Either you tell me you want to continue, or either not, or we're done." So at 25 years old, I said, "Let's open the case. Let's go for it." So he went to realize that my biological parents were living in Kazakhstan, moved to Russia. And so he found my biological parents. He flew to Russia and came to my Russian family. And when he came to my Russian parents' house, it was my mom was home, my biological mother was home, and my grandmother, and my niece was in the house. And he approached to my Russian mother and said, "Hi, are you, Irina Drosinskaya? I'm here in regards to Svetlana. Did you used to have a daughter named Svetlana?" My investigator would actually said that to my biological mother, and my mother said, "Yes, I used to have my daughter Svetlana, but she died, and she died at birth." And my investigator said, "No, she's the one who sent us here to find you." And so for 25 years, my biological parents thought I was dead.
Why is that? How does that happen?
So it's a long story. It's because in early 1990s, because it was a poor country, doctors either stole babies from their birth mothers and sold babies to other people to. That's how doctors made money, or either they did experiments on children, and we believe that they did experiments on me because I was born with Beckman-Whitehead syndrome. I was born with all my organs were out. When I was born, my stomach was open, like my abdominal was open, and all my organs were out. And so hospitals were paid to do experiments on children. Because that was one of the new things that I never heard such a thing as like a syndrome, like Beckman-Whitehead syndrome. So they did experiments on me, and somehow, miraculously, I survived. And even living in the hospital, I was trying to get adopted by so many people, but it didn't go successful. So we got connected after, my mom found out that I wasn't dead. I'm still alive. She got to see the pictures. She got to read my letter that I wrote to her if she was found, if my biological parents were found. And my mom and my father were been married for 35 years and never been divorced. They have 4 more children. Yeah, and so of course I immediately started to get Russian visa. Wanted to go to Russia. I wanted to surprise my biological father. To see him on his birthday in December. I found him, I think September. In October, my biological father gets killed by drug addicts. So that was painful. And I still struggle with that because one of the biggest things I wish, if I do find my biological parents, I would want to have a father. And because I wanted who could be a leader, a good role model for me, because as a child I realized I didn't have any male role models.
So he got involved in an accident, or he was dealing drugs, or?
No, he was fishing one morning, and he was sitting next to the shore, and just sitting, and there were drug addicts, walking around, and they beat my father up. And my father is the one who also speaks up. But one guy against 3 guys, definitely. And so he got beat up really badly to a point he died. Had concussion.
Was it safe there, or you had to be worried about all this happening all the time, or was it just some freak accident that?
No, Russia, it's a safe country. There's another story to it. We have a lot of drug addicts, and in Russia, there's a lot of people who drink a lot and do drugs a lot. So
I don't know much about Russia. So you say that a lot of them do drugs, but isn't this country extremely strict against drug use?
Well, yeah, but it's a very disorganized country, so they're not going to watch over all those people. Yes, it's illegal to be, doing drugs, but there's always ways to get it. I mean, when it's such a messed up or disorganized country, there's ways to do it. I mean, it's easy for me to do it, but of course, I don't do those things. I don't drink and I don't smoke.
So I guess the thing I want to relate to is that, many adoptees from Korea, they typically get adopted from 3 to 6 months years old. Is the reason why they waited so long is because Russia was still Soviet Union, and that's why you're in the orphanage so long until you could get adopted at a later age? Because I read that reason why they do it early is because in Korea, the research states that it's really hard to adjust to normal life when you get adopted at an older age.
Yeah. So did you struggle in high school, studies, or were you pretty adaptable?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I struggle socially and academically. So, no, Russians, Americans, Canadians, anybody, other countries could adopt a Russian from birth until they are maybe 15 or 16 years old, but that's rarely happen. Not just Russia, but Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Armenia. So it's definitely preferable to adopt a child from birth or like when they're younger. But we were one of the luckiest orphanages where we were able to get adopted at such an older age. And because I think also our director of the orphanage fought for us getting adopted. And we were really well-behaved children in her eyes. And no, we were. And so her goal was, get the kids adopted as much as possible. Get rid of all these kids from the orphanage. And I think the last time I left, and the last time I heard, there were 50 kids who got adopted overall from my orphanage.
So I'm curious, is there a reason why the young adoption, you call it, or the previous one, is there a reason why you didn't get adopted then?
Well, because I lived in the hospital for 5 years. And then after living in the hospital for 5 years, I was moved to the baby orphanage. And there were times that there are people who wanted to adopt me, but they didn't work out for some reason. I do remember there were Russian families, there were other families who wanted to adopt, didn't work out. And so then I went to the older orphanage. In 1998, I was about to get adopted. There were American parents who actually came to our orphanage. And our classroom was one of the well-behaved classrooms. And so American parents came to us and they said, I want this child and I want this child. They wanted 2 girls. So they picked me and they picked another girl, Anastasia. And so they started with the process of getting us adopted. But I got really sick during the adoption and I had hepatitis and I wasn't doing so well. I had to be placed in the hospital and it was a question, would I survive actually? And so at that time, they were saying that I might not survive. So American adopted parents came to my hospital and I said, please adopt another child. And there won't be a chance for us to, get adopted. So they gave me a chance to pick someone else from my classroom. And I picked my classmate, Marina, who was one of the sweetest, kindest person. So yeah, they adopted Anastasia and Marina in 1998.
So how old were you then?
1998, I was 7 years old.
So the older orphanage, you go there when you're 7?
Yeah, 7 years old. And then I didn't get heard from any American parents that they wanted to adopt me or adopt my classmates, but there were other classmates actually getting adopted, but it wasn't me. But then in 2001, I had a chance to be chosen to start getting fostered. So, and that's when it came to Portland, Oregon family, and then Arizona family. So that's how all started.
Boy, you must be one of the strongest persons I ever known. We don't want to associate just because someone been through hell. It doesn't mean that they end up turning into drug addicts. And it sounds like you never dabbled into being a criminal or doing drugs or any of those illegal activities to kind of numb the pain. It sounds like you found a better, more healthier way to process.
Yeah, one of the ways even as a child, when I had a rough time, what I taught myself is go for a run. I just ran. I just ran and ran and ran.
Running. You run?
Yeah, I run.
I'm kind of laughing because another adoptee, a Korean adoptee, she basically said the same thing. She said as a child when things were really hard for her and she been through hell as well. And I guess you go run into it. Sounds like that's another a coping mechanism, a healthy one too.
Yeah, and my other therapeutic ways of dealing with stress and struggles is just read books. I read books that what is going on with me in my life, so I can relate and understand. And of course, I'm not the only one. Boo-hoo, my goodness, it's only me. No, there's such a thing as that. There's billions of people. Yeah, you're not the only one. So I read. Same situation that was going on in my life.
So I guess, instance you've been able to adapt to your lifestyle and live a healthier life when it comes to your traumatic past. Do you have any advice for people that are also adopted but have traumatic pasts and are struggling right now? Maybe they're at the lowest point of their life and they're either suicidal or they want to do some self-harm.
There's just people that are just stuck in that endless cycle of like you said, I think of one woman we talked to, it has to do a lot with shame. And it sounds like you were able to realize all that stuff that happened to you was not your fault. And that probably kind of helped you develop a stronger and healthier psyche. So I guess I was kind of wondering, do you have advice for these type of adoptees that are so stuck in that cycle of self-destruction? And what things can you offer them?
So as a child, I believed in, we didn't have a lot of control. As children, we don't have a lot of control to make a decision when you want to have for dinner, when you wanted to, like your meals, what time you want to wake up. You only had to control like survival mode. In psychology, they say like, children can feel, the energy, like if a person comes, they right away feel like if they are safe people or not. And so that's only I felt like as a child that I had only control of, is that keep it so close to you where the only control you can have is just make sure you are safe and be careful with your surroundings. And so other controls that was happening, like teachers and grown-ups, you don't have it control. So one thing, you have to understand as a child, you didn't have all this control. You only had in control what is inside of you. And so as a child, it doesn't matter what kind of behavior you have, good or bad, but at the end of the day, it's not your fault at all. It's the people that, were throwing things at you. And it's, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Why should I be blamed when adults were attacking me? I didn't provoke them to do anything. It's the people who, provoke on them. So like what I understand as a child is that it's not my fault because I didn't provoke them to do this. And also, yes, sometimes we are not the luckiest one and not the right chosen. We didn't get chosen properly. But you have to also remind yourself, don't give them control to the family or to the parents.
I guess like big questions. How do you learn to forgive them?
Because I looked at them as like, I have more of a sorrow for them. Like I'm sorry for them that because at the end of the day, something happened to them too. Something happened to them and they are following the system the same way that happened to them as a child. And so there's something wrong with them. You can imagine what is normal. As an average, good kind of person, you wouldn't think such a things like that. So I'm sure there's something happened to them. And so how was I able to, even now forgive my American mother? I don't talk to her anymore. All I can give her is sympathy, and I feel really bad that because she had struggles, and the only way she found her way is by just still not being good in her head. So I feel sorry for her, but I will make sure that she's not going to ever again disrespect me, because as a child, I didn't have a chance to just walk away. They controlled me. But now, as an adult, I'm in control. I'm going to make sure that the way I want to be respected, be treated. So I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to be repeated by the same path that I had to deal with from the past. And that's when you find yourself as a new person. Yeah, like don't give it control, because they will continuously jamming on you. So, and then I don't see the point if you're going continuously falling through that path.
Cycle.
Yeah, cycle. Then you as an adult, now you have your own common sense that this is not right, and you're an adult. Then there's no, for me, a reason why you continuously doing it. If you don't want this, then don't change them. You can never change them, but you can change the situation and yourself. And if you don't want to be in that situation, then you need to change and don't be around that situation. As simple as that. Even with my, with my birth family and my birth parents, I haven't had a great experience on New Year's with my birth family. Russian New Year's is like get drunk, and then once they get drunk, they fight with each other, they curse at each other, they oh my goodness, it's horrible. And so I realized that, wow, I don't want to be around this area. I can't change them. I can't talk to them. I expressed my feelings, how I felt about it. They didn't understand it. So you can't change them. So you have to change yourself. And I said, I'm putting boundaries and making sure that I haven't been taken care of for such a long time. I want to be taken care of. And the only person I can rely is myself, and take care of myself and not be around those situations. Because if you think that you shouldn't deserve that, you're right, you shouldn't deserve that, then remove yourself. That's all I can say.
So I want to get back to your birth family. Do you feel now, since you met them, before your dad passed away, do you feel that you're whole now? Like some adoptees feel that part of themselves have, filled the void.
Yeah. So when I was adopted, I felt like I was always floating. My feet were not stable and compressed to the earth.
They call that a fog, I guess, adoptee fog.
I guess so. Yeah, I was always floating, walking on the eggshells, because I felt like I was just an alien. And then once I found my biological family and got to know them, went through, crazy moments with them too. And then now I realize, oh my God, so here I was searching all these years. No, I have not written a book, but I'm writing a book, because it took me, again, 3 years to finally get confidence and then also financially, because it's a lot to, you can't just write a book, and you have to keep up with your social media. You have to keep up with, and that's nerve-wracking because I don't, no, I want to share my story, but at the same time, I don't know, I don't take compliments so well. A positive comment. I don't think of myself low. It's just I don't care to hear the positive comments, because I just think I'm Svetlana. This is who I am. It's like same thing with, I don't need a guy in my life to hear I'm beautiful, because I'm just Svetlana. I don't care if I'm beautiful or not.
I was actually just going to ask you that. So you're actually just living independently?
Yeah, right now I'm living independently. And yes, I'm more than welcome. If someone steps into my life, I'll be more than happy to have a man in my life, of course.
Are you just next door to your birth family, or
you actually
are
live
you
with
far away? Or
No, I'm working in Russia. I'm a mentor. I'm an English teacher for a Russian family, and I'm a mentor. I help them with, it's like also like a nanny, taking care of the Russian kids, traveling with them, helping them with English, helping with school, just all the whole life. And so that's my job. I don't like to just sit and not do anything. I'm a person to go, get things done, succeed in life, always look for goals. And so my biological family are living in Vladimir, 3 hours away from Moscow. So when I have days off, I go to my family, or I go to my apartment when I need to have my alone time. I'm an extrovert and introvert, so I also need to have some time and to get myself together, after work, and then I visit my family, because it can be too much too. Because I have my mom living in the house, my grandmother, my niece, my sister, and my 3 brothers in one house. It's a lot.
are you like the middle child?
Yes, I am. I'm a middle child. Yes. So my mom gave birth to my older sister, Olga. She's 41 years old. Then they gave birth to a second child, my brother Sergey. He is 39, I believe, and I'm 29. And then I have brothers who are 27 years old. Yes, and that's it.
What's your relationship with them? Is it
Close or
pretty close, or it's
distant?
taken a while to get you used to?
Um, it took me a while to build a relationship with my family. Not so much with my brothers. My brothers and I fell in love with and we had right away connection from the beginning, from the start. But and I also wanted to have connection with my mom right away, with my biological mother right away. But it didn't happen because there's an older sister that I had that she was the only girl in the family, and she was jealous. She wanted to affect the relationship with my biological mother. She played games with my biological mother, told stories, lies, and everything. So our relationship has affected. That is one of the reasons I moved to Russia. Is for my birth family to see who truly I am. And my biological mother, you know, was very sorry that she was listening to an older daughter. And then I have boundaries with my older sister. Didn't have for a while like a really great relationship with her.
Sounds like she has her own issues to work out.
And yeah, so like I said, my heart is always open. I'm not that person like when I meet new people, I'm like shielded. No, it needs to be opposite. Your heart should be open always. But if somebody stabs in the back or does something, you close it up. My aunties, who are my role models, has taught me there's always room for love, and there is. And so I will always love so many people. But if they don't want to be in my path, then please shoot away. I'm sorry. I'm not going to waste my time.
Do any of your siblings are married or have kids or not?
My sister is married with she has a husband, but he is alcoholic, and he's messed up. She's messed up. And then I have a brother who was married too, but he's in the process of divorcing. He does have a daughter, which is my niece, Dasha. And that's one of the greatest things. Like none of us have children, but my brother so far has a child. So she makes us happy in the family because she's a kid. The kids are so much fun. Yeah, and the reason he's getting divorced is because the wife cheated on him. So that's the sad part. And he's a great guy too.
I think it's kind of interesting. I know there's a lot of adoptees that want to look for the perfect family, but even though you could say that you found a sense of wholeness, there's really no perfect family out there, and they still all kind of have all the same
Everyone has their
issues
own
that
issues.
everyone has that kind of dysfunction in a way.
Yeah, every family members, and that's the thing. All these years, I try to search like, no, our family are better. No, adoptees. In some ways, my adopted family are better than my birth family, and then other ways, my birth family are better in different ways. And actually, friends are one of your family too. That's one thing I realized. It has nothing to do with birth family, adopted family, your friends, whoever, acquaintance, neighbors. We all family. It's whoever takes you in your life and are loyal and love you unconditionally.
So what do you think of Russian culture? Is there Russian cuisine you like? Is
I
there
heard
something you
it's a
like,
really
or-
cold country. I mean, not like just cold, like icy cold, like the socially it's you have to be very, very tough. Is that true?
Yeah. So all these experience I had in my childhood life and younger age, and I thought I got stronger, and been living in America, and I thought I was, yeah, I'm like strong emotionally and physically in America. And then I came to Russia, living here for 2 years straight. And wow, was I mistaken it? I look back and I'm like, no, I was a bit stupid and very gullible and naive. And so Russia has really taught me how to have even more thicker skin and fight for for my rights and fight for what you deserve. So it's a very difficult culture. It's like there's no middle. Either you have a nasty people, like miserable people, or you have most amazing kind people. There's no middle ground to this. And so if you want to get something, you don't just follow the rules and regulations. No, there's no such a thing as that. Oh my God. I mean, Russia's like, yes, this is a rule, this is a rule, but it's a joke. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with acquaintance and money. If you have the money and friends who can connect you to things, then you're good to go.
It must have been kind of a cultural shock going from a democratic America. Like, do you feel like the sense of oppression, I guess, versus America, where you can just say what the hell you want, versus Russia, you kind of got to be careful?
Yeah, you definitely have to be careful what you say, be careful in public, how you act, and all this that. But of course, you just have to. First of all, you have to respect any kind of culture in the country that you're going to. You still need to respect, even though you don't agree. There's a thing, agree to disagree, and that's a mature way. So don't try any other way. Like, don't be immature about it, and just act right. So it took me a while. I'm very bubbly, I'm very open, I'm so loving, but here I have to pick and choose who I can do that and who I cannot. And also, I still don't want to lose that light of like what I've learned in my life. Like, for instance, if I was in America and there's a song, playing in the store, I would dance and or sing aloud sometimes, even though I'm a horrible singer. But and I still brought that, my joy in here. And so when there's a song playing in the store in Russia, and my Russian mother is like, no, she gets so embarrassed. It's, oh my God, the most embarrassing thing, most horrible thing. And I'm here, the music's playing. I'm just like, oh, just floating and dancing and just singing, just being in the moment and present, and I'm not doing anything immoral or illegal. I'm just being joyful inside me. No, I'm not hallucinating. No, I'm not. I wasn't taking drugs. Don't worry. I wasn't smoking weed that time. I'm just being who I am. I love to dance if I hear the song. And so my mom, no, she tries to stop me. I'm like, no, Mom, this is who I am. If they don't like it, they can look away. I'm not doing anything embarrassing. I'm just spreading joy. And if they want to join, they can. Or even if I get hungry, like when we get hungry, we eat everywhere. And that's what I've learned. And so I got really hungry, couldn't wait to get home. We walked to the stores. We don't have a car. So I got hungry. I'm not going to wait. And so I took this whole loaf of bread and eating in the street, ripping it and eating it like there's something wrong. My mom, put it away. Oh my goodness, people are watching you. I'm like, Mom, then just don't look at them. It's so strange for them.
It's kind of a weird cultural thing. So you're not supposed to eat on the street, you're saying?
Yeah, and like, for instance, one day I was in the bank in Russia, and we had this huge line of people, and it takes a long time. And so we inside the bank, and I see through the window this grandmother running, because I think I shared the story there. There's a big, huge line, and she's running to get to the door to, get in line. And then she reached the front door, and she started to, drag herself, like, something's wrong with her, and pretending like she can't walk. And she's like, oh, could you guys let me cut in? Like, I have respect for elders, but if I see you running, you have no problem walking and standing, then don't play games. And because, fight for your right, like fight for your position. And she started to, show up and drag herself. Oh my goodness, poor me. I'm like, no, I don't really care. You're a grandmother or younger. You don't do that. I just saw you running up, running towards the bank, coming towards the bank. And And so then she started to curse at me in Russian. Like, I'm like, okay, I understand you're not having a great day, but please get back to the back of the line because we've been here for longer than you. So you have to fight for your position. And people also push you. And no, you don't allow that. You push back, you know. No, you always push, you speak up, but be careful how you speak up. You know, yeah, and don't be adapt to their culture, but then welcome your own culture too.
Is there such thing as free speech there then? Or
No,
no. Oh, there's
no,
not. Oh.
they will shut you down quickly. No,
It seems like a really
if I-
weird question. So all the stuff you're telling me, you won't get like in trouble by the government, or is it just me being over paranoid?
No, that's my opinion and that's my experience. Maybe that's not all true for others, but for me, that's how it has been true for me. And no, I'm not scared to say anything. No, I'm not worried about it. Yes, I'm sure that people going to have their own opinions, but that's their lens of, you know, through their eyes. That's my perspective. But like I said, there are good Russians and then, you know, bad Russians, but there have been really good Russians too, has helped me go through from point A, point B because of traveling. And there are, you know, family who, you know, just go in the restaurants, and we have this like small cafe close to my mom's house, and he is just an amazing. He's like mix of Russian and Uzbekistan, and he's so devoted in his own. Like they cook amazing, and you pay a small amount of portion of food, but because I was, you know, very bubbly, very, like, hi, how are you? Like, you know, how we all do in America. And now, like, I want this, I want that, that's it. But no, I, you know, asked about his life. I asked how he's doing. And he gave me gigantic, you know, bowl of noodle soup and to my mom. And there are good people where they just, and every time he sees me, hi, Svetlana, and I wave to him. And there are, you know, other people, when I have issues with the phone, you have to pay to fix the phone. But they're like, no, because of me being just simply friendly and just knowing their lives.
So have you come across a lot of adoptees at all currently, or
Networking,
Yeah.
maybe online.
I am connected with a lot of adoptees, so I can say this to you. Since I've been adopted, and during the time when I was being adopted, a lot of my friends, there were 50 of my friends who've been adopted from my orphanage. I couldn't find all of my 50 of my friends, at least.
Oh wow, so you actually reconnected with some of them.
Yes, so I found 90% of my friends, and they've been adopted from Canada, mostly USA.
I don't want to generalize, but is there situations similar to you? I'm pretty sure it was similar when you were there in the orphanage, but is it similar scenario now that they were adopted to America or somewhere else?
Yeah, I have a friend who is magnificent. The first day I met her, she is one of the strongest little kids. And so emotionally and physically, she's very strong. And she also got adopted by adopted parents who were very abusive. And one of the things I think is because genetically how strong she is, and also religiously that has helped her. The religious part really helped her the most. And I actually found her biological parents, and the sad part is that where she used to live in the same orphanage as me, her mom. So all these years that she lived in the orphanage, she never knew that she had a mother who was living 15 minutes walk, like by foot, closer to the orphanage. And she also, her birth mother thought she was dead, and actually she wasn't dead. She was given up for adoption. Yeah. And she's still like very strong. She has children and a husband.
That seems to be a really common story where the adoptees are claimed that they're dead,
but
they're not.
They end up going in an orphanage.
Yeah.
It seems like something political
So
needs
how
to
does
change.
how does
with
that work? I thought you said they sell babies, so why would they end up in an orphanage?
No, some of them got adopted, and some of them got sold right away when they were babies. Some of them weren't able to be adopted because of the reasons, like for my reasons. I'm not sure about my friend's reason, but she was taken away from her parents, and they told her that she was dead. And so all these years, parents thought, I believe 28 years old, they thought that she passed away. Like, for instance, an example, when I found my biological parents, a lot of Russians started to speak up, especially to my biological mother, saying, like, I remember when I gave birth to my twin sons, they took my sons away. I never had any problems with my pregnancy. I've been so healthy. And then they took my twin sons away, and they said that they have passed away. Yeah, there's a lot of records of that.
There's a lot of corruption going on in Russia.
Do you think it's better now, or you're not sure? Is it changed?
I can't say 100%, but it is much better now. But it's still happening. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as worse as it used to be in 1990s or in 1980s too. So there was a lot of adoption going on in early 1990s in Kazakhstan and Russia. And so there was a lot of that happening where doctors would sell kids to adopted parents.
That's just so unfortunate. I guess I kind of wanted to lead into probably one of our last questions.
It seems like you're at a really good place right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Or is it still things to work on, or is there ambitions or goals you still want to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to continue accomplishing my education route and get a higher education degree so I can have more opportunities for the future.
What are you majoring in right now?
I'm still not finished with my bachelor's, but I'm still deciding what I want to do. I'm thinking as a teacher, but I majored in associate degree in, early childhood education. And so that has really helped me with my teaching, like in Russia, and just how to work with children. And because I grew up with children all my life, so I have ways of how to handle.
You know how to have that natural care ability and try to mentor them. It sounds like you've been through it all.
Yeah, because I love kids. Since I was a little kid, I fell in love.
This is kind of out of topic, but it's interesting because you're a nanny. Have you seen the show The Nanny in America?
Of course.
You kind of have that accent. A little bit. It sounds like. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
The Nanny show, the funny show you're talking about?
Yeah, you kind of have that drawl or whatever it sounds like.
That's so funny. No, well, first of all, I'm actually finishing being sick, so I'm more nasally. And a lot of people say I sound like a New Yorker.
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you that you do sound like a New Yorker. Yeah. That's what's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but I grew up with a Arizona family, but they have like a little bit of hints of like Rhode Island accent, Providence, and when I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, I don't have Atlanta, Georgia accent. I just have Svetlana accent. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So if there's any last words you'd like to say, we thought we'd close that up pretty soon. And
no problem.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think you're a very beautifully strong person that I think could inspire and help a lot of other adoptees that I think they need to hear your story, because you're basically the way of light and would be a great mentor and a good role model. That's what you really seem like to me. And that's why I really like to get to know these stories. And I appreciate you interacting with me and my brother and sharing your story despite all the struggles you went through. Is there any last minute things that you'd like to share to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll say for adoptees to remember that don't make excuses. And I would say I tried, because trying is an excuse. But if you just say you're working at it, you still, it's taking the steps. But if you say I tried, it's like, oh, I tried. That's it. You gave up. But if you just say you're working at things, then that shows some kind of effort you're doing. And don't give excuses. And try your best is to change yourself, but not others, because they're not going to change them. And treat yourself that way you've always dreamed as a child to be treated, and as it now. And don't give the power to others to treat you horribly. Because for so many years we try to push that away, but you actually going to their path, which, do opposite and throw more kindness. There's a game always in my head. It's like, you can throw all the, excuse my language, all the to me, but I'm ready to throw all the kindness, not to become like them, but throw all these kindness to them and see who will win. And always the kindness will win all the time. That's all I can say. The last thing. Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this talk. This was an awesome talk.
It's really inspirational.
I really respect you. I mean, even an adoptee as myself, I really look up to people like you, and I hope a lot of our viewers will look up to you, because you're just, the way you're living, it just seems like it's awesome, despite
all the hardships that you've been through.
All the you've been through. It's great.
Yeah, lessons that you were giving, and don't have regression, like don't regret it, and just see that you are more powerful than you think you are. And there's a reason you're been challenged. It's because you can see that you can handle it, and just keep striving for it. Instead of like, why me? Just say, oh, it's challenging me. Now let's see, let me be a warrior in that way. So yeah, thank you guys so much. So I'm happy to definitely share, to others and help others for sure.
Yeah. Do you actually have a contact information? 'Cause I like to connect adoptees with other adoptees.
Yeah, go ahead. And I can give you my, I'm connected in WhatsApp because I'm communicating internationally.
Okay, great. I'll put that in the description link. And then if you ever see like random adoptees saying, hey, you inspired me, I that's probably why.
Okay. Thank you so much.